Happiness is not a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. It is an ongoing skill that must be cultivated. Welcome back to the Patient Zero Project. This is episode 2, Act 1, What We Really Want. Most people are looking for love in all the wrong places. They think that when they get the money, the partner, the career, or the physical health, then they will finally get happiness. But you can't get happiness. You can only be happy, or whatever you want to call it. But at the bottom of every one of your wants is a desire to feel a specific state of being. Safety, connection, authenticity, freedom, joy, love, pride. Happiness is not a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. It is an ongoing skill that must be cultivated. It will never happen to you. It can only come from you. And I learned that the hard way. Act 2, the Oakland crime scene. Let's go back to Oakland in 2011. I was in grad school by day and working manual labor by night to support my family while getting my master's in psychology. Me, my wife Tanya, and sons Rudy, then 3, and Finn, then 1, were living in a single tiny bedroom in a shared apartment with 2 other adults on 11th Ave in Oakland near Lake Merritt. Oakland back then was not as gentrified as it is now, for better and for worse. In this case, for worse, as I struggled to explain to my son why a woman on the corner of our street on the way to the park was screaming in the morning at the sidewalk shrine of her gunned-down baby. Rudy was understandably distraught. "Why did they kill her baby, Daddy?" And the pressure on me was mounting for me to get my family out of Dodge. Our room became infested with fleas that only took a liking to Finn's sweet baby skin, and he would stay up all night crying and itching hundreds of flea bites. We tried everything from hippie stuff to heavy-hitting extermination, and you can imagine my rage. But I was a veteran mountain yogi, fresh back from 7 years in Thailand. I was an expert of sorts, already teaching and helping others, getting my degree in psychology, and I was suffocating. One night at the Oakland Coliseum, while at work, a heavy metal cable swung through the air and smashed into my forehead, knocking me down and out. 3 weeks later, believe it or not, a lighting truss fell on my head at a loading dock. 10 years earlier, mind you, I had had a grade 2 traumatic brain injury. So concussions were a big deal. But 2 concussions in 3 weeks? You can't make this crap up. My system collapsed. I had 20 panic attacks a day. Not the I'm kind of anxious and short of breath kind, the I am dying right now kind. I went to the ER multiple times during that stretch, and every time I would get, "Mr. Boyle, you aren't having a heart attack or a stroke." Every time I looked at a computer screen, I puked. I went to a board certified neurologist, and he looked me in the eye and told me it was all in my head, in that condescending jerk doctor kind of way. I was even nicknamed Johnny Drama. None of us, myself included, saw the 6-inch hole in my diaphragm. That wouldn't be discovered for another 13 years. No one saw my liver and gallbladder lodged in my chest cavity. I was a man trying to drive a Ferrari inside a shattered chassis. Act 3, Sacred Challenge in the ABCs. Sacred Challenge is a moment or a time in your life where you sincerely believe you cannot handle it. But that moment contains the exact medicine you need for your future and to unlock the mysteries of your best possible life. I had to build a system to survive the ticking time bomb I didn't know was in my chest. So I combined the ABCs, the ancient wisdom, the yogic retreats, the Ayurvedic studies, the Dharmic psychology that taught me above all else the ability to change and manage my state at will. B, the biological proof, the hard data, tracking my heart and breath, building a biological bank account. And C, the clinical acumen, the 2 master's degrees and 20 years as a therapist with 10,000 hours and more of experience inside the trenches with people's PTSD. Everything from sexual abuse trauma to combat trauma and moral injury. I was the guy that got referred the toughest cases. Now Act 4, the dad Bod Ferrari. Look at me today. I admit I have a pretty solid, or I guess not so solid, 47-year-old dad bod. I am not an exercise freak. I'm most definitely not jacked, but on the inside, I'm driving an Aston Martin. Among other factors, I'd like to pull out one, heartbeats. We only get so many. And when I shared the universal Dharma idea with my son Rudy, that every person has a certain amount of heartbeats and breaths, his then 5-year-old genius responded, "Is that why turtles live so long?" Yes, my son, yes it is. My resting heart rate is 48 beats per minute. Normal is 75, which is why doctors sometimes do a double take, because they are so used to seeing dysfunction masquerading as normal simply because it's an average taken from the unhealthy masses. Not because it's actually optimal or anywhere near what we are capable of. But this math is undeniable. My heart beats 38,880 fewer times per day than the average person. Per day! Over 25 years, I saved 355 million heartbeats. That is 9 years of cardiac capacity sitting in the bank for my grandkids. Act 5, the pivot, thrive to heal. Most people think they need to heal in order to thrive. I am proving that you need to thrive in order to heal. You can be radically at peace with a sick body, but a healthy body does not guarantee happiness. The surgery I had in 2024 was a miracle, but it only worked because the engine was already built. The surgery just took off the parking brake. We will all face sacred challenges that are linked together like levels in what I call the greatest game of all, awareness-loving life. No one gets a free pass from pain, tragedy, trauma, grief, or loss. And it is absolutely possible, and perhaps very much the universal purpose of each of our lives, for each and every one of us to reach our most awesome potential precisely through our sacred challenges. When we do overcome them, it is natural for us to achieve states of being that unleash wisdom, joy, and the creativity for the greatest possible benefits to ourselves, others, and all. These challenges are sacred because they are uniquely suited to you, and that when you overcome them, you receive the exact powers and gifts that you will need if you are to reach your highest and most beneficial potential. By working through the sacred challenge you are facing, you end up discovering a medicine, a tool, a secret, or a key that you will need to unlock a door that contains a medicine, a tool, a secret, or a key that you will need at another level after that. It is imperative that you face your sacred challenges and unlock their, i.e. your potential, so that you can not only maximize the quality of your life now, but also the quality of your future. These moments in life are tough, like legitimately hard. Hard enough that we sincerely think and feel, I can't handle this. And that's where kindness comes in. Before we proceed further, please allow me to give a brief disclaimer about trauma and the influences in our lives that are beyond our control. While we, in the training ground here, write about, speak about, and regularly use ideas and tools that can dramatically improve physical, mental, and emotional health, even if, aside from, and especially because bad stuff happens, we also understand and promote a trauma-sensitive approach. What I mean by that is this: we understand that there are forces and influences in people's lives that are beyond their control, that can make it significantly harder for them to take matters into their own hands and improve their inner and outer conditions. Some of these influences include things like accidents, trauma, perpetration, racism, cultural factors, socioeconomics, gender norms, and sexual orientation, though this is not an exhaustive list. While we teach and encourage each other to do the work so we can experience post-traumatic growth, PTG, we in no way promote victim blaming, victim shaming, gaslighting, denial, or condoning of wrongdoing. That being said, we are all far more capable than we think of overcoming everything and turning tough stuff into lives worth loving. This is neither for the macho nor for the meek. It is for those of us in the middle, willing to do our best with kindness, grit, skill, and as much grace, ease, contribution, and participation as we can muster. So, if you have a proverbial hole in your bucket, and especially if you don't wait until you do. Stop fixing the past, start hardwiring the future. Turn your trauma into fertilizer. I am Patient Zero, and I am here to show you exactly how to fill the bucket for the benefit of all. Awareness-loving life. Welcome to the experiment.